bringing you a broader perspective. Personality profile, beaming our searchlight on people, events, or something that has made remarkable impact.
His Excellency Architect Obong Victor Attah was born on November 20, 1938 in Uyo, now in Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. He was educated at Practicing School, Uyo, and St. Patrick's College in Calabar. He started his professional studies in architecture at Nigeria College of Arts, Science and Technology, Zaria, and completed at the Leeds College of Arts in June 1964. He studied advanced architectural design and planning at Columbia University, New York. He became the first Nigerian ever to pass the professional license examination to practice as an architect in America. Obong Attah is an alumnus of the Kennedy Graduate School of Governance at Harvard University. At completing his education, he practiced as an architect in his firm of Interdesign Partnership. He has extensive experience in his profession in the Caribbean, New York, and Nigeria. Obong Attah ventured into politics in 1999 and was elected the executive governor of Akwa Ibom State, in which he served for 2 terms between 1999 to 2003 and 2003 to 2007. He became known as the father of modern Akwa Ibom for having effectively transformed a little-known part of Nigeria with a rural and backward economy into a thriving state with a voice that was respected in the country. Of one governor who addressed the physical, physiological, and visionary aspect of leadership and touched with the yearnings of his people at all times. His notable projects in the state include the airport with MRO, maintenance, repair and overhaul facility, Ibom Hotel and Golf Resorts, an independent power plant capable of delivering 191 megawatts of electricity to the state, a university of technology, remodeled Idonges and Kanga State Secretariat, and other projects that the state is benefiting from today. Leadership is not about the next election, it is about the next generation. Attah's journey to becoming the father of modern Akwa Ibom State started long before he formally entered politics. His footsteps on the remarkable Odysseus will outlast the man himself and might one day become stuff of legend if Akwa Ibom remains a political entity in Nigeria. He is married with 2 children, an accountant and a lawyer.
Welcome, Your Excellency,
to Personality Profile.
Thank you.
All right, the journey to becoming the father of modern Akwa Ibom, how did it start?
That makes it seem like there was a deliberate journey to becoming the father of modern Akwa Ibom. It was purely circumstantial. And I can think of a few things that made it possible to happen. As a practicing architect and town planner, I was given the commission to do a master plan of the city, Uyo, as a city, and then the entire state as a region. And at that point in time, I had absolutely no inkling that there'll be a time when I'll be the governor implementing that master plan. So I produced what was considered a very good master plan. I remember when President Babangida came here, he said something about that master plan. He said, if the people that administer this master plan can administer it effectively, Uyo will become one of the best looking cities in all of West Africa. So it must have been a good master plan. Then later on, I found myself as a governor implementing that same master plan. So already I had at the back of my mind what needed to be done to change the circumstance, physical as well as social and economic circumstances of the states. So I set about doing it as a governor. I believe the people appreciated it sufficiently that they saw the transformation that came, and they decided this indeed, this man has shown himself to be the father of modern Akwa Ibom.
So you're telling us that it was the master plan that motivated you to go into politics?
No, nothing of the sort. I did a master plan as a consultant, defining what the place needed to become what it hopefully it's getting to be gradually. And then when I became, what I'm saying is when I became a governor, it was easy for me to take off and then implement those things. Not that the master plan motivated me into going into politics, no.
Okay, success does not just find itself. You have to go out for it. So what motivated you to go into politics?
Going to politics is something that a lot of people are trying to talk me into politics, partisan politics, and I resisted for a long time. Then we went to the Constitutional Conference of 1994-95, which was General Bacha that convoked that conference. And I saw that there were a number of fundamental things that needed to be corrected in the setup, philosophical and political setup of Nigeria. And even at that point, I hadn't made up my mind that I would go into politics. I just thought I could stay in the background, presenting ideas, and those who are interested in partisan politics would pick them up and implement these things. But when that wasn't happening, and the time came for election, a lot of people came to me and said, look, you cannot hide, because I wasn't living in the States. From the time I went into secondary school, I was in St. Patrick's College, Calabar. From there, I went to the Nigerian College of Arts, Science and Technology in Zaria. From there, I traveled out and finished my studies abroad. Civil War, I couldn't come back quickly. So I spent 11 years out. And when I came, I went straight back to Kaduna and established a practice there after I'd served my employment time of 2 years for the man that employed me. And so I wasn't even living here. So people came from me and said, look, we need a governor that can do certain things to change this, transform the state. And we think you would make such a good governor. And they talked to me, and I saw reason in what they were saying, and I was quite amenable. I was mature enough. I had established myself in my profession. The time I went into government, I was already 60. Wow. So I decided, yes, I can do this now. And that's why I went in, and that's when maybe the deliberate effort of trying to change the circumstances of Akwa Ibom, you could mark that as the starting period. And thank God, as I say, was successful enough for people to say, okay, now we're going to recognize you as the father of modern Akwa Ibom.
Okay.
Here we are today.
Okay, during your administration, there were certain things you couldn't go by by the federal government, like the minimum wage. You decided to add 1 naira to the minimum wage of your workers, and you look at the time, they said 7:30 for work time, and you even took the pains to go to the secretariat to find out that workers did not turn up at that time, and then you decided to change the time from 7:30 to 8:30. Amidst all this, and you were given just 600 million naira to run the affairs of the state, whereas the salary alone was about 800 million naira. How were you able to develop Akwa Ibom amidst this? Okay,
you have several questions in that one question, but let me take them one by one. I didn't just decide that I was going to change the working hours, but in principle, I disagreed with the fact that somebody should sit in a federal system and tell a federating unit when people should go to work. That's wrong. That's not federalism. Okay. So the opportunity came, and we actually did what's the word? A referendum. We took a census and asked people, what time would you want to come to work? And they said, look, we have to drop if you say 7:30, we'll all be late because we have to drop our children in school before we come. So what time would you want to come to work? 8:30 to 4:30, as opposed to the federal government 7:30, to say what the people's decision, and taken through a questionnaire. That was it. We did a questionnaire. So it was not me just deciding, okay, I want to change it because the federal government says that. No. But in principle, I accepted to change it because I think in a federation, federal government should not dictate such things to a federating unit. But the actual times that were selected, that was done by the people themselves through this questionnaire that we issued. The allocation, it didn't start out that way. It started out with the president paying 1% on derivation. This is something that we thought we had left behind because when we went to Constitutional Conference of 1994-95, one of the things that held this country together, and I mean it, because there was a time we feared the country was going to break. One of the things that held this country together was the agreement that derivation must be raised to a minimum, and they said no less than 13%. But here we were with the president paying 1%. We said, you can't do this. It's against the constitution. I don't even know why, I don't even know why he was not impeached for going against the constitution of Nigeria. Because the constitution says, pay 13%, come and pay 1%. That was, but because it favored some people, so I didn't think of as an impeachable offense, but I think it was. But in the end, when he now finally agreed to pay the 13%, he reintroduced something called onshore-offshore dichotomy, which again, we are left behind, I don't know for how long, by the time we came into office. So maybe giving me this 600 was to show me up that I was not a good governor, I was not able to manage or whatever. And some people even in this state came to me, why are you fighting the federal government? That's why you should please go and learn so that it will give you. I said, there should be no giving in a federation. It is the right of the federating unit to own and earn certain things and use it to develop itself. So why should I sacrifice and mortgage what should belong to it because I want to be good, a nice person? No. I insisted on getting the rights of the people, for the people. So punishing me over that period of time, giving me 600 million, I just laugh because, as I have said, if anybody wants to sit and do only what the federal government asks them to do, then they are not a true federating unit. I decided we will continue, so we reduce. I didn't actually come down to reducing salaries, but I sacrificed a lot of things that should have been the right of the governor. And I decided, no, I will not. My security vote came down drastically. Number of vehicles in my convoy came down drastically. So many things that I was flying commercial throughout, none of this business of private jets and so on, and none of that.
In all this, did it affect your administration?
It only showed example that if you are sincere with your people and you want to do what the people want, you will succeed. That's how the effect that I think it had on the people. Okay. People recognize that here is a governor that prepared to sacrifice for their good, and so they supported me tremendously. So every effort to stop me from going back in 2003 for the second term failed because the people insisted they want me back. And that's how I came back. So then, of course, you start to look at possibilities. Okay. And then luckily for me, and it's very fortunate, the opportunity came in this Econet matter. My daughter studied in England. I sent her to school in England. And it was the time she was there that British Telecom came up. And when I read about the British Telecom, any new technology like that, so I sent her money and said, use this money, buy shares in British Telecom. 6 months later, my daughter sold those shares, and believe me, I hardly had to send her money again for her school fees after that because of the level of profit that she made from selling those shares. So I know that a new startup technology like that, particularly in telecoms, is bound to, so I just borrowed totally. To the last red cent that we invested in Econet, we borrowed it for the $7.5 million. All of it we raised in the capital market. But by the time we sold, we got well over $200 million. So I was able to do the airport. I was able to do a power plant. Those were two major projects that came out of that Econet resale. Okay. So, and then looked around and did all the things that really produced. We decided we must improve on our internally generated revenue. Not paying taxes is wrong. but we had been used to not paying taxes. So I had to persuade the people that you want certain amenities, want certain facilities, you have to pay taxes. We didn't overburden the people too much, but the normal taxes, and then you begin to lower your own sites, you know. As perhaps some of the things you would have wanted to do, you reduce them. In the end, I built 3 hospitals. I would have loved to build more. I built 7 secondary schools. I would have loved to have built more. The number of roads that I tarred and dualized and so on, I probably would have loved to have done more. But I just decided this is what I can do with what is the right one. I'm not the one to say.
All right. In your speech, you said any governor that says he can't develop a state is not fit to be a governor.
No, he's saying he's admitting that he's not fit to be a governor. That
okay.
Yes, that is a self-condemnation.
And then, you know, governance is cost intensive. What do you think any governor should look at when you're about to govern a state? Not looking at the allocation, the federal allocation.
Thank God you talk about that cost intensive. You make the cost. You determine the cost. The amount of money you take for security vote, you determine it. The number of aides. I read the other day a governor with 100 and something aides, for goodness sake, that's a whole village. You know, aides. So you can pay people money. And all you are doing is recruiting people who will vote for you, who will recruit voters for you. That is not governance. If you are governing, you just do the thing that governance requires, not what politics requires. A lot of people are subjecting this thing to politics and therefore taking all the money, and instead of developing the state, developing themselves and developing their politics, you know, because they want to get from here to there. And so that's really what the problem is. In that same speech that you are quoting, let me also quote something else, which I said, and I believe it is a factual report, that the wife of a governor in America works 3 days a week in a restaurant waiting at tables to augment the income of her husband. Here, tell me which governor's wife will want to go and work any kind of work to augment the husband's income. No, first lady. So, must you know what I mean? Fly private jet, do all kinds of things, own jewelry of 100 million, and that is not governance. And then, as I say, for one person to have that number of aides on top of your executive council, which is commissioners and so on, and then the amount of money you allow yourself and call it a security vote, total waste. So you just have to accept the fact that if you want to be governor, you have enough to do. There was no year in which my capital budget was exceeded, it was less than 60% of the total. I made sure I aimed for 70-75 so that recurrent would only be 25-30. There was no year in which my capital expenditure was less than 60% of the total. But today, you read that 70% of the revenue going to recurrent. Only 30% is supposed to go to capital. And then even that is not released, or you don't see it. So we are just not governing. I don't know. We are spreading. We think we are spreading largesse, but we are spreading poverty.
All right, you know that innovation is what distinguishes a leader from a follower. What kind of innovations did you introduce into politics in your time?
Oh, enough for people to consider me today the father of modern Akwa Ibom. I could stop the question there, but I will tell you. Look, the style of leadership that I introduced in this state, if we had followed through, believe me, wouldn't be where we are today. We would have enjoyed 24-hour constant power without any hesitation in my mind. We would have been close to, we would have been the envy of everybody when it comes to IT. With that ICT park that we established there. Look at the type of hotel we established at the Meridian. And it's not the full concept of what I had for that place. That was supposed to be the high-end tourist facility. And there was to be a polo ground along with the fishing and the marina and along with the golf. And along with it, there was enough land for us to have built what instead was built at Tropicana. And so you would have had the situation of like Eco Hotel and towers. You know what I mean? That tower block would have been there. They would have had a concentration of tourist facilities. You would have had more than one hotel located in that. So that would have been like a tourist hub, if you like. And then there would be competition among them, and you shared certain facilities and so on. Then somewhere else, there was going to be an aviation hub, the basis of which would have been that MRO building. But all that was discarded.
Okay. Still on your administration, we crucify ourselves between the two devils. That's the fear, the regret of the past, and the fear of the future. What will you say are your regrets during your administration?
I've been asked this question before, and I swear I said something which you are forcing me to repeat because I didn't want to have to repeat it. If I have any regret at all, because I had a president, such a president as we had, who refused to understand anything about my point of view and did not give me any kind of support. He felt I was fighting him, so he had to stop. Let me tell you something. Maybe one day I will write my biography and some of these stories will come out. We begged the president, Governor Duke and myself, in a letter. Governor Duke established TINAPA. And it was clear to everybody that Calabar Airport cannot possibly support TINAPA, because you want big 747 cargo planes to come and land. And I was building an airport where that can happen. We begged the president, please reinforce and dualize the road from Calabar to the airport so that it will support TINAPA. You know what the president did? He came on the opening day for TINAPA and said, oh, he hears that TINAPA cannot function without his own airport. So he's going to build an airport in Odupani for TINAPA. Now, Odupani is like a humpback, you know, you can't find any stretch of flat ground to put an airport. But that's so if I have any regret at all, is that I had a president that instead of in any way supporting or helping some of the things I was trying to do, he was determined to make sure that I didn't succeed.
All right, a leader is someone that knows where to go to, what to do, and how to go about it. What's the current state of the nation?
Let me tell you something. There's more to a leader than that. Well, the leader must be one that when he is going, he finds that he made a mistake, he can detour, you know, into the right path.
Okay.
If you accept that philosophy, then I think the whole country, not just the president or whatever, should accept that we made a serious mistake holding on to this unitary system of government that we have. That's the one thing that's destroying Nigeria today. We must go back to a true federal system, give Nigeria a rebirth so that we can come out the way we were at the time that we agreed to come together and be a country. And let me, in fairness to Buhari, he's the only and emphasized president in Nigeria that has admitted that we should go back to true federalism. And he said it. So we should hold him to his word. Let him just do it. Let us go back to true federalism. He says he will be belaboring the point to say that at this point Nigeria should be practicing true federalism. That is what we should hold on to. But it is not a presidential issue only. The National Assembly, the House of Assembly, I will ask you, when is the last time you had a dialogue with your representative in the House of Assembly? That's why it's called your representative. Nobody does. You should be able to call down your representative and say, this is what we want. This is what. Instead, you wait for the day he comes on what they call constituency briefing. He gives out wrapper, he gives out the motorcycle, everybody clap, and nobody tells him what the community wants. He's your representative. Make sure he represents you. And the only way he can represent you is if you communicate your views to him. And if everybody calls their own representative down to that and say, we want true federalism, we'll have true federalism. Because they are there to represent us.
You've been preaching the message of federalism. What do you think is the fear of leaders to really embrace federalism?
I really don't know. I really don't know. Some people say because this sharing thing favors some people Maybe that's why but anybody that thinks deeply will know that this sharing thing doesn't favor anybody. Because what are you sharing? You're sharing poverty. Whereas if we could go back to what we had before, we would have diversified, and everybody, you will have an abundance of everything. And at one time we had.
All right, a year ago you said that Nigeria will die a natural death if they don't embrace.
I'm still saying it.
Okay, looking at what is happening now in the country,
yes.
Are we on our way to the grave?
Unless we embrace true federalism, in fact, the grave is nearer than you think. That is a fact. We must begin to take a very serious look at our exploding population. If we do not find a way of keeping down this population, the story of India and China will be child's play.
You fought so much for resource control. What were your reasons for this? Why didn't you just give up like every other person?
But I quoted those of you talk like that to me when I was in government. Give up and the president will take you as a good boy and bring. Where would you be today if I gave up? You wouldn't get the 13% you are getting. And it is your right. It is your entitled by the Constitution of Nigeria. It was unnecessary that I should fight. But when the president made it absolutely impossible for me to get it without a fight, you fight, you know? You don't go out looking for a fight, but if the fight comes to you, you have to fight.
All right. Talking about rebirth now in Nigeria, what are the things that we should put into consideration when we want to think of rebirth?
It's easy. We were born before as what? A federal system. Rebirth, go back to the federal system. Reestablish the federal system. That's the only rebirth.
Okay.
So you have to be born again.
The function of a leader is to produce more leaders.
Yes.
Than more followers.
Yes.
How many leaders did you produce during your time?
Somebody said something the other day. He feels sorry for people who go out to fight Obong Attah because they are fighting legion. Because Obong Attah is not just a person now. His legion. So that must suggest that I produce a lot of people who have bought into my philosophy and themselves have acquired leadership qualities.
Finally, leadership is not just about the next election. It is about...
Leadership?
Yes.
God forbid that the leadership should be about election.
It's about the next generation.
That is about the next election. Yes, Carrie, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
What's your desire for the next generation?
My desire for the next generation is that please recognize that a lot of things are wrong with the way things are happening today and avoid them. If it is, but let me be, cultism is one of those things that really has swept through that really, but that's not really what I mean in terms of philosophical thinking. Begin to think differently. Get a different orientation to life. Begin to know that hard work pays, and be devoted to your work and devoted to the things you truly believe in and believe in the right things. That's really all. If you do that, you're bound to succeed.
All right, your parting word before we wrap up this segment.
My parting word? Many words. So, one, for Nigeria, go back to federalism. For the youth and those that are upcoming, think of your country. Think of your fellow man and don't think of self only.
All right, thank you very much, Your Excellency, Architect Obong Victor Attah, for being our personality for the week. All right, then to you, you've heard it all. And if your action inspires others to do more, to act more, and to live more, know that you're a true leader. So from the words of Architect Obong Victor Attah, let's go back. Let's restructure Nigeria so that we will not enter that grave that is staring at us. I believe we've learned so much on this particular segment today. I still remain your host, Blessing Ambrose. We'll see you again.
Beam TV, bringing you a broader perspective.